Hello, everybody, and welcome along to the Blood Red channel, courtesy of the Liverpool Echo, with myself, Patrick Smith, as we bring you a transfer special podcast focusing on Darwin Nunez and Sadio Mane. Well, I'm in the great company of the Liverpool Echo's Tom Cavilla and Richard Garnett. Fellas, how are we doing?
All good, thanks, yeah.
Not too bad at all, Patrick, thank you.
Well, we'll start with Nunez, because obviously there has been a rejected bid for Sadio Mane from Bayern Munich, his second bid from Bayern Munich. We'll move on to that shortly. But the main reports this morning are on Darwin Nunez, with it being claimed that Benfica have set an asking price of £85 million for the young attacker. Rich, we'll come to you first. Do you think that's a fair price for the Uruguayan?
It's difficult to say, isn't it? In the current market, I mean, you see the prices that get bandied about these days. But I think if you're looking at a European prospect who's young, exciting, and scores plenty of goals, then he ticks all those boxes, doesn't he? And you can't blame Benfica for not wanting to let their prize asset go, at a steal. They're obviously going to want to, if they accept that, yes, bigger clubs in Europe are going to come in and take this player, and they're obviously going to want to hold out for the best money that they possibly can. So I think we have to be realistic about it and say when you take into account his age, then yes, that is probably pretty much where they're going to be positioning him as a price point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Tom, it is a high fee, as you mentioned. But, you consider the likes of, let's say, Dusan Vlahovic, Victor Osimhen, they've cost similar prices, haven't they? Do you think Liverpool can't really be surprised? And do you think they'll break the club record fee to pay for it? It could be a big break in culture, this, couldn't it? You're just on mute, mate.
Sorry. I think it will just come down to, obviously Liverpool are looking at other options as well. I guess it will just be a case of availability of other players as well and what their market rate is. I think Benfica have got a bit of a history of, buying players for sort of cheap from South America and other places and then selling them on for sort of twice or three times what they pay for them. So it shouldn't really come as a surprise to Liverpool. Like, this is Benfica's strategy in the market because they've done it so many times before. I think that they've got the most made the most profit on players in the last 10 years. I think it might be people like João Felix and Di Maria, the players that they bought it and then sold for huge fees. So yeah, I mean, it's a good method. It clearly works for them. So why wouldn't they do it again with Nunez, especially for his age? They've got even more power in that sense because he's only 22. He's still got many years to come at the top level. So, they've got every right to really be asking for that kind of price for him, really. It's just a case of whether Liverpool, like you said, want to go all out and pay it for him.
Oh, yeah, I mean, his scoring record does speak for itself. And the thing is, Rich, it's also been widely reported that Man United and Atletico Madrid are also circling young. So that's come with the reports today. Do you reckon that could be a bad thing for Liverpool? Because, it's likely we're going to want to drive the price down. But do you think that could be a massive problem with negotiating? Because United and Atletico are probably going to put more money on the table for him, aren't they?
Well, one thing that we understand is that Liverpool don't really want to get into a bidding war for him. And I dare say, as a result of that, you could see the club, hold its position regardless of anyone coming in ridiculously over the odds. If someone tries to gazump them with some sort of outrageous offer, it's unlikely that Liverpool will go in and try and match that from what I can understand. And I suppose this is really sort of a first examination of Julian Ward, isn't it? This summer, and straight off we've got a really high profile signing and other clubs that are in the mix for it. And of course, Liverpool and Ward will be hoping that their current standing in European football will carry enough gravitas to seal the deal at a price that's right for the club, not just because Benfica want to sell them to the highest bidder. From what I can gather, Nunez is keen on a move to Liverpool and would fancy that above some of the other options on the table. And that, of course, will play into Liverpool's hands. Manchester United, always happy to throw money about, as we've seen over the years, especially since the exit of Sir Alex Ferguson, but no longer the attraction that they once were. And of course, we've seen that to their detriment over the last few seasons, where big money signings just simply haven't paid off. So it is a threat because it's money we're talking about here, and that's what Benfica are holding out for ultimately. But at the same time, I think Liverpool, the club that people want to join at the moment. Gone are the days when Liverpool were just freely selling the best players to the likes of Barcelona and Real Madrid. We've gone full circle now. These players generally want to sign for, if it's not Real Madrid, it's Manchester City or it's Liverpool. So I think that definitely gives Liverpool an advantage in this tug of war for Nunez. And personally, I think it's one that they'll win.
Well, exactly. Liverpool are the biggest club of the three, and with my biased view, obviously, I don't know why he would join the other two. Tom, if you had to be devil's advocate, why do you think he would potentially choose United or Atletico over Liverpool, aside from maybe money?
It's hard to say, isn't it? I mean, Man United, I guess, a lot of the time, it's a lot of these players. It's sort of a case of you often hear them saying it's a team they grew up supporting, that kind of thing. So they've got an attachment to the club in that sense. Obviously, we don't know what Nunez's background in that way, but Liverpool are going to be in the Champions League next season. Man United aren't, so that's going to be one sort of major stumbling block, I guess, with Man United. Not being able to offer that, because obviously he was playing in the Champions League this season, just gone, and obviously did very well. So he'd want to carry on playing in that competition. Obviously, he could be able to do that at Atletico Madrid as well. Probably would be guaranteed regular minutes there with Suarez leaving, playing every week probably. And same for Liverpool, really. You'd imagine he would be playing, pretty much every week if Mane goes. So I guess it would just come down to what sort of style he thinks he would suit more. Like I said earlier, we saw Felix go to Atletico Madrid from Benfica. So he may look at him and see, oh, maybe if he's done it, I could do the same. Or, maybe he's in touch with him about how the club is, where he'd fit in, that kind of thing. But you'd think Liverpool are the more attractive proposition for him out of those three clubs that have been mentioned. So, yeah, you'd like to think Liverpool were the best option, really, out of the three.
I mean, you mentioned João Felix there. His transfer fee was, I think it was 113, 115 million pounds. Compare that to Nunez. Extortionate fee. I'll stay with you though, Tom, because my next line of questioning was going to be about how Nunez would fit into the Liverpool team with the increasingly likely departure of Sadio Mane. But that has taken a big twist in the past hour, as it's been revealed that Bayern have made a second and unsuccessful bid for Sadio Mane. Tom, would you like to tell us a bit more about the bid that Bayern have made?
Yeah, well, it's been reported that its initial fee of £23.5 million with £6.5 million in add-ons, so a total of £30 million package. It's a slight increase on their first bid, which was immediately rejected, seeing as Bayern have only upped the actual offer by £2 million or £2.5 million from £21 million a couple of days ago. So I think the problem Bayern have had, I think Liverpool, it's been reported that they haven't taken this second bid particularly well, given the nature of it. Bayern, 6.5 million in add-ons is dependent on Bayern winning the Champions League in each of the next 3 years, as well as Mane winning the Ballon d'Or. And considering Bayern have won the Champions League actually in the last 3 years, but Mane has come close but has not won it. So it's quite a big ask for all of that to come off. So you can understand why Liverpool, have not taken that very well. It's being reported that Liverpool are sort of looking at closer to the £40 million mark. So I guess Bayern, they know where they stand. They know what they'll need to get Mane. It's just a case of if they're actually going to, cough up and pay that amount instead of trying to sort of, pull out all their tricks in the negotiations, trying to get a cheaper deal for him. And they've got to be careful, because it sounds like Liverpool are, sort of losing patience a little bit with their tactics and how they're trying to go about their business. So, yeah, I mean, if they carry on with these add-ons and, not upping the actual offer itself, it could reach a point where Liverpool, just get to a point where they're saying, we're not doing business anymore. I mean, you'd like to think it wouldn't come to that, because Bayern will probably now, realise what they need to do. But you never know. We've seen it happen before with clubs having enough in that situation and sort of just stepping aside from it. But you imagine Liverpool would be sort of respectful to Mane and, if he wants to go, they'll probably try and do their bit to allow him to go and pursue that challenge of playing for Bayern or whoever else is looking like Bayern. So it would just be down to Bayern then, to sort of match up to Liverpool's demands, really.
I mean, it's a really strange clause anyway, isn't it? If Mane wouldn't have enough pressure on him replacing Lewandowski, replacing a league that's just lost Erling Haaland, and you've got to now go and win a Ballon d'Or. Rich, what do you make of it all? I mean, do you think Liverpool could potentially walk away from these negotiations? It's been a bit of a kick to the teeth of the first two bids, isn't it?
Well, when Arsenal made a low ball bid for Luis Suarez, I think it was John Henry who said, "What are they smoking over at the Emirates?" So you've got to question exactly what sort of extracurricular activity is happening at the Allianz here, because the offer is just bizarre, isn't it? I mean, if you reject £21 million, you're not really expecting a counter offer of 23.5, and then a collection of add-ons which are basically, they're not near impossible to achieve, but they represent significant risk to the seller, in this case Liverpool. I mean, first off, a deal that ensures you get paid if Bayern Munich win the Champions League. Well, Liverpool are competing directly for the Champions League. They've got no interest in Bayern Munich achieving that. And then also to throw in the likelihood of Sadio Mane winning the Ballon d'Or. I think it was up to 3 times, was it, Tom? In order to fulfill the £6.5 million of add-ons. I think only one African player has ever won the Ballon d'Or, George Weah, and now we're asking Sadio Mane at the age of 30 to win it 3 times for the best part of £6.5 million. It's fanciful, and I'm not surprised that the club is pretty insulted by it. So I think Tom's right. There is the possibility here that Liverpool could just walk away from the negotiating table if Bayern aren't serious about what they're doing, or if they want to stop playing games and start offering serious money for them. Because let's be honest, walking away from the table with Bayern doesn't mean that Sadio Mane will necessarily stay at Anfield, does it? There will be other clubs that will be prepared to put up the money to take him elsewhere. And then, of course, that'll be down to how committed Mane actually was to going to Bayern Munich as opposed to just staying at Liverpool. But yeah, it puts the cat amongst the pigeons, this, and who knows when it'll turn next.
I mean, Rich touched on it there, Tom. Sadio Mane has sort of retracted his initial statement he made earlier in the week about the Senegal fans wanting him to leave. Do you think it now could potentially become likely that he actually stays at Liverpool?
I'm not sure. It does look like he's going to leave. Just, I don't know, just from his comments and the way he's sort of been approaching the whole saga really around it. I mean, I think it might have been Rich who said it the other day, or it might have been Matt Addison. I think he said it, when he was asked about what his future was at Liverpool before the Champions League, that the answer of sort of, I'll address it after the final, was a bit strange. And as soon as he said that, everyone was immediately like, oh, hang on a minute, that doesn't look great. Because, like I think Matt was saying, if he didn't have any issue and knew he was staying at Liverpool, he would just say that there and then. He wouldn't need to say that sort of cryptic answer of, I'll tell you another time. Because we saw Salah saying, I'm staying next season in a similar, it was actually on the same day, I think it was, said he's staying at Liverpool next season. Mane sort of did the complete opposite and left it up in the air. So, yeah, I don't really see him staying. It looks like he's sort of set on going, and maybe he just feels like he's achieved everything he can at Liverpool. There may also be that element of wanting to get out of Salah's shadow a little bit. We've seen that with other players. Neymar leaving Barcelona to get out of Messi's shadow, and he wouldn't be the first to do it, because obviously all the attention always is on Salah ahead of everyone else. So you couldn't really begrudge him too much if he wants to go and be the main man for someone else. So yeah, I don't really see him staying. Just his whole demeanour really, and everything he said so far, it just all points to him leaving at this point.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, let's say he does leave, Rich, and Darwin Nunez does come in. Is a more orthodox number 9 better suited to Liverpool? Because obviously we've seen Mane play as a striker in the past 6 months. Would you be happy to finally see a more traditional number 9 onto the side?
I don't know if it would suit them more. The proof will be in the pudding in terms of that, but I do think it's exciting. And I don't know, you've got a player. He looks to me, from what I've seen of Nunez, he looks like a sort of a hybrid of Harry Kane and Mane himself in terms of what he can do. You know, he's good at running with the ball. He's quick. He can take players on, but then he's a big, tall lad who can hold the ball up and show predator instincts in the box. So that's quite a lot there to be excited about. And he's only 22, and he's seen Luis Diaz move from Portugal to England and already make a success of that. And I'm sure there's more to come from him. So, you know, he could have a kindred spirit in Diaz on his arrival. So there's a lot of things that point to it being a nice fit for Liverpool and for the player himself. Will it improve Liverpool in front of goal? I would hope so. I mean, obviously, we've scored plenty of goals anyway, but you know, sometimes when you need a bit more of a direct option, you know, the old Plan B Divock Origi is obviously coming to an end. God bless him. And obviously, Darwin Nunez won't be a Plan B, but he's certainly going to bring a different dimension if he was to come in. And you'd imagine with the likes of Robertson and Tsimikas and Alexander-Arnold providing quality deliveries from wide areas, that'd be something that he would capitalise on significantly. I think it's if Mane is set to leave, which I'd be sorry to see. He's been one of my favourite Liverpool players for a significant length of time now. If he is set to leave, I do think this is the type of replacement that fans would want to see, and I'd certainly be all right with it.
Yeah, you touched on the Divock Origi note there because, you know, as Origi is leaving, there's basically no one in that mould, and Nunez could probably cover 2 or 3 different roles across the attacking line. Tom, I know you just explained brilliantly why Sadio Mane is still likely to leave, but let's be hypothetical. If Sadio Mane were to stay and we were to sign Darwin Nunez, who would start in the front 3? What situation would that cause? Would Nunez be on the bench? Would he start? Would you drop one of Mane, Salah, or Diaz? You know, it could be a nightmare situation, couldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the only way Darwin Nunez seems to be coming though is if Mane goes. It's hard to see, you know, Mane saying and him coming, because I think Liverpool would probably just reinvest the Mane money and then other players, Oxlade-Chamberlain or Minamino, whoever else leaves, into that sort of Nunez transfer if it was to happen. I mean, if that was to happen and Mane and Nunez were both there, well, it's a tough one. I guess you wouldn't really drop Mane because of the form he's been on the last few months. You could say the same for Diaz, really. I mean, Salah's actually the one who's been out of form out of the 3, but, you know, it's quite a big call if you were to drop him, you know, next season at the start of the season, really. I think if that was to happen, what Klopp would probably do is start with Mane, Diaz and Salah, and then do what he's done with other players, where he's sort of given them a bit of time to, you know, bring them into the team, not necessarily throw them in straight away. He did it with Robertson and Fabinho and a couple of other players. So, you know, or he may opt for a different system, which, you know, brings everyone into play, you know, very attacking lineup, you know, with everyone involved. But yeah, I don't know. I couldn't see that happening where we have that situation, but it would be a good problem to have if it did happen.
I mean, the thing as well, Rich, as well, is we're forgetting Diogo Jota and his 29 goal contributions to the season. Is he almost being hard done by with all this transfer talk?
Well, you beat me to it there, to be honest, Pat. That was my next point, really. In all of this conversation, we're forgetting about another man with strong links to Portugal, i.e. his own nationality, Diogo Jota, and what a great goal return he's had. And almost towards the end of the season, I don't know, he seemed to be a little bit pushed out of things, wasn't he? And especially with Diaz coming in on the left and then Mane going down the middle and making a success of that. So it's given Klopp a bit of a headache. I do agree with Tom. I don't see a scenario where Darwin Nunez joins Liverpool and Sadio Mane stays. It just doesn't add up financially for starters and personnel wise either. So I don't see that happening. But yeah, Jota, you know, a little bit marginalised in these conversations, but a great player, a great goal scorer. If anyone who could show that sort of predatory instinct down the middle that Nunez does, it would be him out of all the players I think that Liverpool have got in their artillery. But, like everyone else, he'll have a pre-season to prove his worth and to force his way into the reckoning and make sure that Jurgen Klopp can't keep him out. And that's exactly what happened with Luis Diaz, basically, isn't it? I don't think Diaz was necessarily expected to play as many games as he did, but he got to a point where he felt like he basically had to play him. He couldn't leave him out because he was just performing so well. And I know you asked about Jota, but certainly in terms of Diaz as well, I'm expecting to see a bit of an uplift in his goal return next season. I'm excited about that. But it's all to play for. And it's a good situation for Liverpool in terms of competition for places up there, because these players know, and I don't think Mohamed Salah can be excluded from this, by the way. These players know that they have to be performing, otherwise they're going to be on the bench.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with you. Couldn't agree more with you about Diaz as well. I think it's a 20, 30 goal a season player waiting to happen. It's like when Suarez in his first year took a bit of time and the next year really kicked on. I can see Diaz doing exactly that. But it's certainly very exciting news and very exciting times with Liverpool and the Liverpool attack in particular, as the Nunez links go stronger by the day. And knowing how these things have worked in the past, maybe we'll just get an unexpected announcement of Nunez and Liverpool shirt when we're all least expecting it. But a big thank you to both Richard Garnett and Tom Cavilla for joining me on this transfer special podcast. Be sure to keep up to date with all the latest Liverpool transfer news on the Echo's website, social media accounts, and of course, make sure you're subscribed right here on the Blood Red channel for the latest on Liverpool's chase of Darwin Nunez.